If you've seen my channel before, you know that I've been shooting predominantly film in the last several years, and I thoroughly enjoy the experience. However, who knows what happens with the film industry in the future? I don't want to be stuck with no options to shoot the same way as I did before with film. So I'm on a quest to figure out how can I get this analog experience and shoot digital like film. First, I need to define what is making it so unique and special for me shooting film, what I want to replicate with a digital camera. The number one is the manual controls over the exposure, aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. That should be easy to replicate with most of the modern cameras. I like using zone system for calculating the exposure. I enjoy making conscious decisions about highlights and shadows. So that's an important part of the experience for me. The thing number two is manual focusing. And it's also the one that is relatively easy to replicate with modern cameras. In the same way as an exposure, I like to make a conscious decision about the focusing, and analog cameras, they usually have a reasonable focusing aids. Modern digital cameras have some good focusing aids as well, that you can rely on the manual focus with no problem. It's slower, sure, but in the same way as manual exposure, I'm not prioritizing quickness in this process. I prioritize thinking through, slowing down, and making conscious decisions, forcing myself to think about how the photo should look like. The thing number three, and the very important one, is the optical viewfinder. This is more tricky. I had several cameras, mirrorless cameras with electronic viewfinder, and it doesn't work for me very well. I had a couple incidents where I started relying on the representation of the image in this electronic viewfinder, and I think I expose it correctly, but I can blow out highlights or lose shadows. It's distracting in that way because you start trusting it as a screen, but it's not the best screen and it's not the great representation of the image, what the sensor sees. When I look at the scene with my eyes, I imagine the photograph in my head, and when I bring the camera to my eye and I see the electronic viewfinder with the screen, I see how this picture looks like on the screen, and sometimes it can be discouraging and uninspiring. And I may decide not to shoot the scene or shoot it in a different way than I initially was intending to. Using the optical viewfinder is in the same way as looking with my own eyes. I'm just looking through the glass, not through the screen. So I see the representation of reality as I saw it when I spotted the scene with my eye. So I really enjoy using the optical viewfinder. There are some digital cameras that allow you to use the optical viewfinder, and that's where I'm going to concentrate my search. Today I'm trying out Canon 5D Mark II. I took it on a photo walk in South Lake Union in Seattle, along with my couple old Nikon lenses to see if I enjoy the experience. Canon 5D Mark II is a full-frame 21 megapixel digital SLR which was produced between 2008 and 2012. It was a revolutionary camera for its video capabilities that changed the world and changed the film industry. These features are hardly impressive these days with the modern cameras. I'm not going to review the video features. What I am interested in is the great optical viewfinder that this camera has. It's kind of similar to the analog SLRs that I have, Nikon F3 and FM2. Since it's an SLR camera, the optical viewfinder allows me to see through the lens, and I can get a good representation of how frame will look like when I'm using a specific lens. There's one caveat using manual vintage lenses with this camera. There's only one focusing assist that you can rely on, which is a punch in the live view. But I'm not planning on using live view. I want to use the optical viewfinder. So I found a solution. I got a lens adapter that has an electronic chip on it, which enables the focusing assist, so that in the optical viewfinder, I have a notification when the subject is in focus, using the manual focus. If you're interested in more details, check out my recent video on the topic. Overall, the combination worked well. I was using all the manual controls, using the focusing assist. There was one problem using the focus detection system. If I was closing the aperture too much, it was getting too dark for the focus detect system, and I didn't get any notification about the focusing. So in this particular lighting condition, it obviously depends on how much light there is around, but in this situation it was f11 and smaller, so I mostly used f8 and wider. Otherwise I had to open the aperture by a couple stops, focus, and then close it back and then shoot. It's not ideal, it's slowing you down even further, but the quickness is not the main concern for me, so it works. I would not use this combo for fast shooting, obviously. This time I was using my Nikkor 135mm quite a lot. I wanted to see if I struggle with manual focusing. Using such a longer lens, of course, can be a struggle without any focusing assist. And I think the results are all right. Some of the photos I have converted to black and white. I thought that they look more interesting that way, maybe because of the contrast in this evening sun. What do you think? Is it better in black and white? This camera is a bit heavier than my Nikon analog cameras though. So the good, comfortable strap is a must. All in all, I think the experience was quite close to shooting analog cameras and film. I didn't look at the images, trying to be more observant and present. The focusing was probably the main adjustment and distraction. I'm used to analog focusing aids like split prism, so I might consider searching for a custom viewfinder screen with a split prism. I'm curious to know what you think about the result images. Do you agree Canon 5D Mark II is a decent replacement for analog camera? Thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed the photographs. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Please hit the subscribe button. Looking forward to see you next time.